The headline says it all. According to the conservative, emphasis on conservative, Wall Street Journal editorial board, the Republican tax bill is, quote, putting the Senate in play. The current headline says that Trump is putting it in play. That declaration came after North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis announced that he would not seek re-election next year, an announcement he made after voting against advancing the tax bill. Meanwhile, 2 Alaska state lawmakers are condemning the bill's impacts on their constituents in a New York Times op-ed entitled, "Alaska Cannot Survive This Bill." Here's a quote from the piece. "What is the end game here? How does it help anyone to terminate health care coverage for our most vulnerable through red tape or take away food for families who have limited to no options for gainful employment?" These are the questions. Joining us now is Kathy Giessel, one of the authors of that op-ed. She is the Republican president of Alaska State Senate. Also joining us is Marc Racicot. He is the former governor of Montana and former chairman of the Republican National Committee. He's also the current national chair of Our Republican Legacy.
Welcome to both of you. Governor, let's start with you because I always like a little chairman's corner. If I get a former, come on, this is us right here, right? Here's the question. It's just straight up. I don't understand what Republicans are thinking now. How they think that the going through with the idea of eliminating SNAP programs and health care coverage and sort of making the system, as we were just talking with Senator Klobuchar about making it more complicated, the paperwork more complicated, making that become the priority as opposed to the service that these citizens need. What's the thinking in your view as you see this narrative playing out in Washington right now around this idea that, yeah, we can cut your benefits and we'll still win in the end?
Well, Michael, my wonderment has been all along, what is the adhesive that holds these people to Donald Trump? And frankly, I don't think they are thinking. They're just simply adhering to what it is that this autocrat demands. And as a consequence of fear of losing and not returning to their chambers and stables, they simply adhere to whatever it is that he wants and demands. So you and I know a great many of these people. We worked for them. We tried to be inspired by them. We know that they had good character and sound judgment. And they've all remained silent, sitting on their thumbs because of fear of Donald Trump. That's the only reason I think that's logical to presume, is that there just is no thinking. It's all about what, at the end of the day, Donald Trump demands. And probably because without him, they don't think they can be reelected to their office.
Senator Giessel, one of the things I had not considered until I read your piece is that this is essentially federal lawmakers taking their responsibility and shifting it to the states. What is the impact of this legislation if it passes tonight on your state budget?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, it's devastating to our state budget. But, you know, even more than that, it's devastating to our people, our communities, and our economy. Healthcare is the fastest growing sector in our state. Lots of jobs. We certainly have an aging population, just like the rest of the states. You know, to take away this healthcare support, which allows people to enter the healthcare system at primary care rather than delaying care and ending up in emergency rooms, to provide nutritious food for kids, particularly as they're growing. All of these are critical elements for people, communities, and economies, not just in Alaska, but all over our nation.
This, I've been saying it, I'm going to continue to say it, this is just really crazy. It's crazy the extent to which members of Congress in the House and the Senate, Republicans, are willing to literally throw their constituents like the baby is being thrown out with the bathwater with this bill. And it is devastating. which is why, Senator Giesel, I appreciate your op-ed. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your comments, your consistent comments on this, because I was really struck by Representative Michael McCall this weekend. He was on the CBS Sunday show with Margaret Brennan, Face the Nation, and this is what he had to say about supporting this bill. Take a listen.
I think everyone in the House, they know the peril they're in if they vote no on this thing.
What do you mean the peril they're in?
I think, first of all, it's good for the nation. Secondly, they know that their jobs are at risk.
The president
not just from the president, but from the the American people.
Now, Mr. Chairman, what say you? Because it is unconscionable. It is unconscionable that elected leaders are more concerned about the president coming after them than their constituents coming after them for kicking them off their health care.
Yeah, I would agree with you. They're deluded into thinking things that are just pure fantasy. Fact of the matter is, I think you hit it right on the head, the nail on the head earlier, when you talked about how many people do not know across the country the calamity that's in the offing as a result of what takes place. God only knows what's going to unfold with this bill between now and the end. But we're going to reach an end at some point in time. My great hope is we might have some people of courage that will stand up and do the right thing for the right reasons, and just enough to make certain it meets its demise. But the fact is, there's probably a pretty good chance of it passing. And how is that so? Well, listening to your previous discussion there about this being in the best interest of the country, that's patent nonsense. It's absolutely ludicrous. Like Senator Giesel in the state of Montana, we're not as big as Alaska. We'll concede that right up front. But the fact of the matter is, we have 56 counties. We're spread over 150,000 square miles. And with 50 out of our 56 counties do not have the kind of facilities that allow for people to be treated without Medicaid. And without Medicaid, we don't have rural clinics or critical hospitals that can respond. In addition to that, we have 7 Indian reservations that, again, are placed in harm's way because Medicaid, even though I know that there's different funding sources, the fact is that the infrastructure that we put in place as a result of Medicaid serves those families as well. So it's just unbelievable to me that these Republicans would proceed thinking that they're people of conscience and somehow they're doing something good for the country. I don't think they even know what's in the bill, to be honest with you. And as a consequence of that, they draw these conclusions and these simple platitudes and slogans, and they build upon the basis of bigotry and the whining and complaining and grievance and resentment. That's the nature of the game on that side of the aisle now. It is incredibly unfortunate, and it's going to work to the great detriment of the people of this country. And what I'm really fearful of is that when they find out what this does, when they learn what it is, and I wish we could avoid the catastrophe, but I'm fearful we can't avoid this calamity until it happens. And then it's going to be an ultimate disaster in terms of its impact upon the people of this country.
Senator Giesel, have you told... Yep. I want you to answer. I want you to jump in, but I also want to ask you, have you shared your reservations about this legislation with Senator Murkowski?
Oh, yes. I had a great conversation with her. Speaker Edgman also joined me on Saturday morning. She totally gets it. You know, with the change in SNAP in the food supplement support, the potential is for rural stores in rural communities actually closing because folks won't have the money to purchase food. As Mark was just saying, our rural hospitals will be in jeopardy if people don't have Medicaid to help support the cost of their health care. This will be a lot of unsupported health care being given, cost shifting to people that do have insurance. We have a very small insurance market here in Alaska. This actually jeopardizes all Alaskans, whether they're the third of the population, of our population that receives Medicaid services or not. Medicaid pays for 38% of the deliveries, the pregnancies and deliveries in Alaska. That ensures safe babies.
Wait, Senator, let me just, I want to make sure I'm so sorry. I just want to make sure I understand. You said that you think Senator Murkowski fully understands the pitfalls of this legislation. She is right now on track to vote for this legislation. Do you believe if that is how she casts her vote tonight, is that a betrayal of your state?
I'm very hopeful she will not vote in favor of this. At the same time, I will tell you that I trust her completely. If she chooses to vote for this tonight, I know that she will have a solid reason, a belief that this, in fact, can be fixed somehow, or that remediation can be made. I trust her. But in talking to her, she shares my concerns, Speaker Edgman's concerns. She knows what rural Alaska is like. We still have communities that don't have running water, that have honey buckets, which is basically a 5-gallon pail that people use as a toilet, is taken into sewage lagoons and emptied. I mean, that's the kind of life that some of our communities have. This will take us back even further. 2 days before those clinics that the late Senator Ted Stevens helped fund through federal funding, the tribal support that we've enjoyed, this bill will take us backwards in time.
State Senator Giesel, former RNC Chair Racicot, thank you both so much for being with us.